Good morning, good evening to all our viewers. We have today Vishwa, who is representing PlugScale, and Ashutosh Bisht, who is representing, and both are the veteran in their space of GCC, building GCC ecosystem in India, how GCCs are moving, what are the key opportunities, what are the key challenges, GCC as an organization, GCC as a unit of their parent organizations are going through in Indian landscape. Today we are going to talk about these areas, and we'll be listening to the leaders in this space. So I'll pass it to Vishwa to give a quick round of introduction, and Ashutosh after that.
Hi, good evening, good morning, wherever you're listening from. My name is Vishwanadh. People call me Vishwa. I'm here to kind of discuss with you a couple of things on GCCs, the maturity model that we built, the books that I wrote, and most importantly, have fun. Coming to my background, I have close to 20 years of experience, worked with brands like Wells Fargo, Deutsche Bank, Dun & Bradstreet, and Dun & Bradstreet when I joined. And then, I was part of the ANSR before I started this company. PlugScale is an innovative GCC enabler. What we do is we actually help companies to set them up in India, build them up, and scale them up. So the idea is you plug with us, we will scale you to the heights that you cannot even imagine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vishwa. Ashutosh?
Yeah, thank you, Vishwa. Thank you, Satish. So hello, everyone. So I am Ashutosh. I am currently heading research and advisory at ANSR. So ANSR is a company that is enabling GCC, that is setting up GCCs in India. And they are doing from, they are like a GCC everything. So if a company wants to come to India, they set up the GCC. I am heading research and advisory there. So I come with around 18 years of experience. Prior to this, I had experience in management consulting at Frost & Sullivan, Infosys, Genpact. And currently, I am working in the GCC space.
Excellent. Thank you, Vishwa. Thank you, Ashutosh. So we'll move forward. As we all know that Indian IT industry landscape is close to 200 billion plus, which is supporting the global large-scale IT initiatives based out of India. And in recent past, we have seen a lot of movement in GCC growth, And today, as we speak, GCC market is supporting close to 60 or 70 odd billion dollar and plus. And it is expected to grow 100 billion in very short time with more than 1,700 centers as of now, and NESCOM and other leaders, they believe that it's going to touch more than 3,000 or more GCCs in India, As this path is growing and it's giving a serious challenge to the current IT landscape, the established so-called the large great-grandfathers of IT industry in India, and it's growing as we speak. And most of the industries in retail, healthcare, manufacturing, and many more are venturing out in India from a GCC perspective. So today we are going to know more into this area. What are the challenges? What are the kind of opportunities our leaders like Vishwa and Ashutosh look into this area? So Vishwa, coming to you, how do you see that the GCCs in today's landscape where AI is a very strong, not only a buzzword, but most of the GCCs in our research, we have seen that they are using AI from primitive stage to more advanced stage. How do you see this area from your experience, Vishwa?
So I think I'll go back to automation. So from data, we got into automation wave. From automation wave, we got into AI wave. From AI, we talked about Gen AI and Gen AI to agentic AI. And then I'm sure there's something new kid on the block is quantum, right? So these things keep happening. They will always have a new trend, new technology coming up and all that. What's more interesting is today that AI is becoming more horizontal, and it is applied to every field of engineering, which could be a pharma, healthcare, and all this stuff. So it's interesting to understand how GCCs enable AI with all those issues that AI can actually pose to companies and still grow the way they would want to grow or grow better, right? In fact, one of the statistics I saw that is that the way AI is penetrating is close to 400% every year, right? So which is a great, what is it called, metric But then how do we ensure that penetration is also helping and reducing the cost, increasing the value, velocity, and all that stuff? And the second point that I want to talk about is that whenever these new trends keep coming in, there are two types of companies. One is obviously, hey, let's hold on to it and let's wait and watch kind of thing. And then somebody who takes it and then goes into this, right? So there is no right or wrong. But then the people who are at early people who kind of embrace it are the ones who will see the impact faster. So it's always we are in a knowledge industry. We are in an industry where everything has to be, we learn from industry, right? So I think it's embracing that, looking at what AI can do for us, ensuring that we do a complete, radical shift in terms of the way we are doing things, and also looking at the CAGR growth, the way global organizations are looking at, right? So my thought process is embrace it the way it is and see how it can help you to improve the velocity, improve the speed, and all of that quality kind of thing. That's my view. Thank you.
Excellent, Vishwa. Just to continue on this with Ashutosh. Ashutosh, what kind of successful differentiator as a GCC brand vis-a-vis traditional offshore model? What's your observation on this front, Ashutosh?
Yeah, thank you, Satish. So, anyways, what Vishwa talked about. So we are seeing this radical change across the overall GCC story. So we are seeing earlier the GCCs were looked from a cost arbitrage point of view. So they were more of an execution arms where the key measuring matrices around GCCs were cost per FT, how the SLA adherence is there. All those were the key metrics measuring. So, but what we are now seeing is the GCCs are looked as strategic value creation, and the role of GCC is completely changing. What their GCCs are doing in India, when I talk about some of the top GCCs like Walmart, Target, Lowe's, or maybe JP Morgans and all those big Fortune 500 companies, we are seeing a lot of innovations are happening out of the GCCs. The GCCs are creating the IP for the mothership. Mother company. Also, we are seeing a lot of product development is happening. New products are developed out of India, and so is the KPIs are also completely changing. So what we are seeing, the GCCs are acting as a revenue enablement arm of the company. They are doing lot of innovation pipelines are across the GCC. Pipelines are across multiple emerging technologies. AI, agentic AI are one couple of technologies that we are seeing. So I'll just quote one example here. A Chilean company, they are the most of the innovation that is happening out of that Chilean retail company is happening out of India. Excellent. Nowhere else in the world they are doing it. They are doing it out from India. Apart from that, I just quote one more example. Rakuten, the what a fintech company in Japan. So they are only doing business there. Rest of everything technical is happening out of India. And fintech, when I talk about fintech, they need to have the cutting edge technology. So all the innovation, everything across the product line, everything is happening out of India. So this is the level how the GCCs have transitioned themselves into. I will also want to talk from a talent point of view. So earlier, when we used to see the traditional GCCs, they were looked for talent pool. When I say talent pools, the cost efficiency was always in the mind of the companies who want to set up the GCCs in India. But now what we are seeing is the GCCs are emerging as global talent magnet. So the GCCs are looked at deep domain expertise, not only from a tech perspective, also the non-tech areas. When I talk about non-tech areas, F&A, supply chain management, HRM. So all these areas are also the GCCs have very deep domain expertise. And this thing is continuously growing, as Vishwa quoted, how the AI is growing, at what CAGR it is going. And we are seeing the same growth in that particular area. And the other thing, the GCCs who are not modernizing themselves, who are not adopting to the new wave, will be the laggards. So every GCC have this thing in their mind, and they are really ramping up on all the areas where they can be a cutting edge GCCs.
Excellent.
They need to be the second HQ. They don't have any other option left with them.
Excellent point, Ashutosh. Just to take this point further, Vishwa, a lot of talks are about that most of the GCCs are acting as their support satellite offices. They are only support functions. not much of innovation is happening. Not many AI applications or tools or agentic platforms are being used. So, what's your view? You are on the ground. You are seeing many classic examples. Maybe to the viewers or to the listeners, what's your take on this point, Vishwa?
I think very interesting and pertinent question. So I see GCCs as three different when I look at these companies, right? One, the parent company is seeing a true value in that company in India, whether it is innovation, whether it is the kind of work that is happening, all of that stuff. Second is the kind of company that they want to build. This GCC is always on the path. Third is there's a lot of investment, but then the GCC did not grow to an extent what the company is looking at, not from people point of view, but from innovation and all this, right? So you will see a large amount of companies in the third category, just because the mindset of people. It could be both sides, or we're not taking enough risks in terms of how do we think differently. The first and second category of companies, I'll give you not names, but then I'm 100% sure that if there are 1,700 according to some of the statistics, but my math says we are close to 2,000 companies, at least 200 plus GCCs are doing exceptionally well, and 20 of them, which is maybe 0.01% of that, we have leaders who are sitting in India playing a global role as a CTO or a CIO. So those are the companies who are really, really transforming. Interesting enough is because there's a lot of literature available in the internet. Now companies are saying that, hey, if Lowe's have done that, if this company has done this, why are we not doing it? And that is becoming a big differentiator for all other companies to really, really go fast.
Excellent point.
So that's the first point. The second point is, I think Ashutosh mentioned about the growth and all that. Growth, according to me, obviously is innovation and people and all that, but also value. He actually used the word called value, right? So are you creating value, and are you becoming the second headquarter? In fact, one of the GCC, I can't mention that, is able to do work for the larger company, and their entire tech team is based out of India, and they're solving the global problem using local technology. So it's no more outsourcing kind of thing, right? So this is pretty much in Manita Tech Park. Everyone take a guess. It's a very interesting case study. So with literature going on, and every second, in fact, LinkedIn says that every third message on the internet is about GCC. So people are reading it. People know what they are currently, and it is just a matter of fact for a headquarter to know what kind of company that they are trying to build. And interestingly, ecosystem is really, really good, right? So companies are interested to talk to other companies and tell them what the journey is. That's not the case 10 years, 15 years back. Everyone wanted to hold their own IPs and all that, their own stories. Today, they're talking about the story of internet technology and all that openly, which is making other companies to follow it. So I think we are in the safe hands. 2030 is when I think 3,000 GCCs will be in India, where there is a lot of hope. It's just that, we need to understand the wave of AI, the wave of unemployment, what's happening today. Because while we're talking about 100 more GCCs, there's also a lot of discussion on around 500 GCCs laying off people, right? So I think
500 GCCs, come again, sorry?
Laying off people.
Okay, laying off people.
Some saying, some not saying. So there's a lot happening. So I think it's important for a site leader to really understand what is the purpose of the GCC and look at the maturity, look at each angle, whether it is innovation, whether it is people, whether it is culture, all those 7 or 8 models. I'll talk about that model that I patented recently. We looked at 7 stages, 11 dimensions, GCC maturity model, and that's getting patented. And I'm sure we will come up with a white paper, and that will help most of the companies to understand at what stage they are, and will help them with good case studies of how they can actually go to the next level.
So if any company is looking for trying to open their operations from a GCC point of view in India, so what one suggestion would you like to share with them from the point that which are the areas not to compromise on?
It's talent. It starts from talent. Starts from talent and ends at talent.
Correct. So how do you see the wave of talent, the current scenario where a lot of companies, the large old model of the companies, they are laying off, the new GCCs, they are trying to fetch the talent pool from the same pond. How do you see, Vishwa, that painting out in the coming future?
So I'll give you an example. Again, not quoting the names. Sorry, I'll take slightly more here. So when this initial GCCs, when they came into India, like for example, Texas Instruments, Honeywell, GE, their only ground was services company because we didn't have any other companies to hire from. In 2000, 2010, they were established GCCs who were feeding grounds for another GCCs. They established extremely good GCCs. I'm using the word extremely good GCCs are the feeding grounds for the another GCCs that are coming up. It's not about any standard other GCCs. So you may be a good person in an extremely good or standard GCC, the talent is not required. We are looking at somebody who's working for that extremely good, and I don't want to tell that what is extremely good, right? So you can understand. So the talent pool, so the reason why recruiters are having hassles because they get 1,000 applications for one role. And out of that, if you take out 500 applications from services, another 500 coming from GCCs. That's where AI can come into.
I'll come to this point on recruitment processes because nowadays we are hearing a lot of online platforms are also helping GCCs in the recruitment process. They don't need the plethora of HR and recruitment people. A lot of such platforms are helping them. Before I come to that, just one pointer, Ashutosh. How are you seeing the overall brand building process? What are the kind of threats the established players like TCS, Wipro, Infosys, those who are not into this space are getting from the same pool of customer where they are targeting?
Satish, can you please come again? I just lost you in between.
See, the question is, the customer base remains same, either in Europe or in US. So the established players are also chasing the same customer vis-a-vis the customer. They have their plans to open their own GCC back in India. So how are you seeing this push and pull between the established players and the new GCC, which they have the charter after seeing the best practices of other similar organizations?
So if you see every quarter, Infosys or any of the companies publish their big like quarterly reports and like balance sheets at the year end. So what we see, like a lot of revenue they are earning from the banking side, and all those banks from where they are earning the huge revenues are also having big GCCs in India. So what we are seeing, the GCCs are becoming a very tricky customers to the service provider companies. So again, like when you look at from this perspective, if services are including a AI offering, so the customers are looking for a discount. However, a product company is including some AI capability in their like offering, the product is getting costlier. So like earlier, like how it's happening right now, earlier it was a cost per FTE model that was like the old how the contracts were getting signed. But now it's getting into a more outcome based revenue models for these particular service providers and these companies. So again, I can quote some example. It's known everywhere. So Lufthansa was having a GCC in India for a very long time. But now what we are seeing, Lufthansa partnered with Infosys, and they have started building a lot of new innovative offerings for the parent company. So combining with service providers and like a building product together, because these particular companies, they have, for example, if I talk about Infosys, they have decades of experience in whether I talk about pharma, whether I talk about retail, whether I talk about banking, they have decades of experience, all these service providers. So this particular experience, they can be a very, very, what would I say, very, very productive partners with the companies, the GCCs who are setting up their bases in India. And also, if you see, all these companies, the service provider companies, have a huge like revenue allocated to AI offerings. Whether I talk about homes, whether I talk about Topaz or anything of that sort, these companies offering. So these particular products are very, very sector centric. So when I say sector centric, for example, an offering by Infosys, they have huge amount of data from the past 30-40 years from pharma sector. So their offerings in AI would be very sector centric, which these GCCs who are setting up their centers in India can utilize. So this is what we are seeing, how these particular things are shaping up.
So it's basically in areas it's competing as well as kind of supportive also. In some cases, they are working with the service providers as their support partner, whereas they have their centers back in India also. But one question comes, one question comes maybe. Yeah. So one question is very, very, very pertinent from leadership point of view, Vishwa, that how the segregation of project or programs are being done. What's your experience? What kind of programs are being segregated between the system integrators, the traditional one, and the one which they want to keep it with their GCC center back in India, What's your observation on
this?
This
is a very political question, Satish. You like it or not? But then I'll go back to the statement that I made. GCCs are actually complementing the IT services kind of work that we're doing, right? Take an example. I think he spoke about Lufthansa. I'll talk about another airliner company. Today, they have close to 800 people in India who are in their own GCC, who are doing cutting edge work on AI, little bit of data, and obviously product engineering. And their entire automation, their entire software development from a backend standpoint, everything is done by the 3 third-party companies, large companies. Like you can guess the name, right? Now there will be a point in time when they will see that the cost that I'm going ahead with a third-party service provider for a software engineering developer is X, and I have hired a data engineer at X minus Y cost. Why am I even breaking my head? So can I push that to myself? Can I pull that to myself? So interesting GCC leaders are doing that conversation.
Excellent.
They're either reducing the cost, say you have eaten a lot of money from our side, now you reduce the cost, or we will take the entire pie out of it, right? So those conversations are happening today, and it is real that if service providers are not adding value beyond the point that they are given to, those projects is just a matter of fact that can be going to GCC any day.
Excellent. I think this makes a lot of sense. And the picture is, both the shades of gray as well as some bright shades, that where the GCCs are, complementing their parent organizations, whereas, some of the GCCs are also supporting in their overall balance sheet, the margins, the new scheme of things, the speed, the velocity, the flexibility, what they were not what they were not getting in past, So one, before we close this call, what kind of one suggestion, Ashutosh, would you like to paint for the upcoming centers or the current one, so that this area continues as we move forward,
Yeah, Satish, so the biggest advice across this thing is GCCs are no longer a cost arbitrage center. They are the strategic hubs for the parent company. So the only thing they should never compromise with is the talent. Talent is the foremost thing. It's like the foundation a GCC is standing on. What we are talking about tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, expanding their GCCs and all. But again, it can be a hub and spoke model. The main center can be in Bangalore, and it can be the second center can be in any XYZ city. But the talent is something the GCC should not compromise with. And from day one, innovation, IP creation, and that should be in the mind of the GCCs. They should hire such site leaders who have this idea how to create a GCC like a next gen GCCs. Old traditional GCCs will not, definitely they will not work. And in coming, just like in coming 2-3 years, we'll be seeing a lot of tumult in this industry. A lot of mergers are going to happen. A lot of things we'll be seeing. So GCC should be very careful about this, and they should focus on the talent first strategy.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashutosh. Just coming to Vishwa, one last concluding remark from an agentic AI point of view. What's your thought at how agentic AI, is it really supporting in enterprise grade level, or is it really at a prototype or just point of view stage? What's your point of view to the audience in this call today?
So my simple answer is agentic AI is working for those people who are making it work. Agentic AI is not working for those people who did not do a good job in building the blocks of how agentic AI should work, or training the people who should be trained on how to use agentic AI, right? So when this message came into LinkedIn said that 95% of agentic AI models did not work, I looked at 5% of the people, and I was fortunate enough to talk to one of the companies. What they said is the first motto that they had looked at is making the people understand what agentic AI is and ensuring that they learn agentic AI, and then that's when it did not come as a top down, it became as a bottoms up, right? So my last parting input is that with this GCC maturity model coming up, I think it's important to understand the trust framework, the progression rates, your leadership, your talent metrics, important operation model, innovation, some of the guardrails that you need to consider, risks, right? And in my experience, in my research, I always saw that, if in case you want to become a 5-star GCC, it will take time. And we don't want to put a number to that time, but in general, companies have taken at least 8 to 10 years to become a 5-star GCC. Now the 5-star GCC maturity model itself is questioned again. They become a 7-star and then 10-star. I don't know what that is, but then I think it's always evolving from where they left. So that's my view.
Excellent. This is very positive view, Vishwa. As you said, it all depends on the company, their motivation level, their risk-taking appetite, how they are willing to implement their agentic AI in their enterprise grade. Thanks for this positive note. Thank you, Ashutosh, for the positive comment.
I would like to thank you, me and Ashutosh would like to thank you, because this is a very apt topic that you are bringing up. You are trying to do this service to the community. I'm sure many of them are hearing us. They will get benefited out of it. So thank you very much for this initiative.
Thank you, Vishwa. With this note, thanks to our audience, and stay tuned, please. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.